Well, our next keynote speaker will be talking about the circular economy, strategies for sustainable growth. And we will invite Ms. Sheila Kan, the Managing Director of Circular Earth Limited. Ms. Kan is a renowned leader in the field of circular economy and sustainability, dedicated to transforming businesses through innovative, eco-conscious solutions. With her deep expertise and visionary approach, she's helped organisations reduce their environmental footprint whilst fostering economic growth. Please welcome Ms. Sheila Kan.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone's enjoying their dinner. Thank absolutely for inviting me here today. I feel like actually I'm quite small in comparison to everyone else. I actually work with very micro businesses, but the joy of them is that they are so agile. We can trial and test things and move things around. You were speaking about it earlier on, right? And as I go through what I'm going to discuss today, you will see how we can work systems in different ways, and the joy of agility in this space. So yes, I'm founder of Circular Earth, which is a boutique consultancy working with micro businesses, small to medium-sized enterprises, and working in this agile way to apply circularity, specifically in the fashion domain. So I also feel like I'm a bit of a fish out of water here, not being in energy or ESG particularly. I'm also founder of something called Real Circularity, which I co-founded with a man called Ken Alston, who worked on the original Cradle to Cradle almost 40 years ago. He worked with those originators and did very similar agile trials inside of large corporations and created huge success in these spaces. I'm also a founder of something called the Ecosystem Incubator, which is a collaborative. You might not have heard that word before. This is where small businesses and consultants and designers and even people who are growing fields of hemp in the UK are coming together and collaborating and creating larger things that are more compelling on than what they can do on their own. Why did I start doing this? I have a background in design and design management. I was a designer in the fashion industry for 20 years. And I really saw the immensity of what we're creating out there in the world. I used to go to China, to India, to all of the centers of industry and production and see just the sheer amount of stuff that we're creating for stuff's sake. All of this stuff, I knew there was rolls and rolls of fabric that was not thinking about any kind of future. It was pretty toxic. It still is, right? And we would never think about, well, what happens next to that? I actually felt towards the end of that cycle, actually sick to design anymore and sick to help my team. Not physically sick to do this anymore. And I used to sit in sort of small sustainability events that were happening whilst I was a designer and think, what can I do? I'm just a designer, right? And then my mother passed away. And I looked at my children's faces, very, very small at the time. And I thought, well, actually, I can start to do things in this space. I can be creative, which is what I started out doing in the first place. And I started on this journey that led me here to this great place. So when we're working with our small agile projects and small businesses, we're starting to, instead of just talking about the two sides of circularity, we have the technical cycle and the natural cycle. Instead of just seeing that as a flat two-dimensional diagram and ticking boxes, we actually want to bring, as it says on here, theory into reality with these small agile trials with these ideas, not just in the product space, but in the way those businesses are actually fundamentally created. So we move away from this tick box application to applied innovation and continued trials over and over and over. Circularity for us is not just recycling on steroids. This is something that's far more thought about. How can we eliminate toxins from those processes, both in the procurement, but in the thought to the next use, and the next use after that? If it goes into a different industry, is that toxin going to become a problem? When we release it from its embedded state, is that going to be a problem? We want to look at creating new and dynamic revenue streams, because I realize we can't do what we did before and go and create thousands and millions of garments that would just essentially end up going into landfill. Most of them I knew that would only actually have 80% sell-through, and that would be a good one, right? So I knew that even what we were creating was going to waste. So we wanted to think about how we could add way new revenue streams to each of these businesses, aside from just that product. From the evolution of it, how could we help businesses to create evolutionary value from that thing? And from the brand and the idea. Could it be dynamic? Could it be, okay, we can create a digital asset for this thing. We could create an educational piece around this thing. So we're working on super dynamics. We also want to work, when we're in these micro ideas and agile places, that we can zoom right in to a tiny aspect of that element and see what we call in our book and in our work, everything that's in everything that's in everything. Right down to its component parts. But also at the same time, develop that muscle where you can zoom right out to the bigger picture and see how your thing and your element is interacting with other industries, with even other, what we would usually call competitors. So today I was asked to talk on growth, which to me is interesting actually, because I want you to try on that growth can look very different, that growth can be dynamic itself. So very different to our historical view of growth. When I look at my children, I don't expect them to grow into infinity, upright into the stratosphere. When I see a tree, I don't expect that to grow right up into the atmosphere. It has a natural cycle, a flow, per se. A birth, a being, a maturity, and an eventual death. And we do not usually see that growth in that respect as a bad thing, right? So we encourage to try on those new growth systems. Circular growth for us is about flow. How can we flow that money into more people in more places? Instead of gathering it up into one, I'd say a swimming pool, right? And sitting in it and lazing on it ourselves. We started to work in what I call decentralized systems and decentralized economies, and work with way new different business models. An example of this is called the Butzog model. This is actually a care agency out in the Netherlands. And instead of being top down and waiting for a CEO to say, hey, do this, do that, these are the protocols, this is the map that you're going to use, they radically actually turned that upside down. And they empowered their teams to actually work dynamically on what they knew they needed. In that model, they reduced cost, they increased employee happiness, they increased employee retention for that rate, right? So you're increasing monetary flow in that sense. You're not having to rehire over and over again because these guys are happy. But more importantly, they increased happiness in the actual people they were serving. And this was a great inspiration to me. So I started to think, well, how could we work like that in our systems? And so we created this ecosystem. Me and my business partner over there, Simon Headley. A system that was far more dynamic, and thinking, how can we actually start bringing these players together? How can we work in different ways? Now for us, this is with micro players, one product businesses, consultants, designers, the hemp people, right? What can we do with them? So we started to play this game in a different way. Now I'm going to ask you to imagine a game of musical chairs. Has everyone played musical chairs when they were kids, right? Yeah. You might lose your chair in the end and oh no, I'm a little bit tearful, right? And maybe one person wins and they're like, yes, I get the prize, right? I'd like you to imagine that our economic system is like a game of crude musical chairs, where when we lose our chair, we lose our job, we lose our access to healthcare, we lose. I actually play this game with my students, and one of them said, when we were playing the crude game, can I elbow people out of the way? Some of the students hold the chairs to their behinds and walk around. Some of the really ruthless ones, they swipe the chair from underneath the other students. And the game can get quite raucous, especially with my business students. One person wins and I said, well, congratulations, you're Elon Musk, wonderful. But look back at the other people there that have lost their chairs. And there you can see their faces, especially the ones that get swiped from underneath them, they're very upset, right? That is what the game has us do. It has us compete. And even the most beautiful of people have to be in this space. So we thought, what if we can create a new system? A system where there was chairs for 20 or 30 or 40 people at the same time. What if there was chairs for people with short legs, people with long legs? And you wouldn't sit on a tall chair with short legs like myself and sit in discomfort. The game would be far more collaborative. There would be far more conversation. And this is what I'm asking you to try on in all your businesses, or in politics, or in your communities. Try on that there are new ways of playing the game. Try on that working in your business, you can create continual processional benefits by just being a business and by working in this way. To close, I'd like you to leave you with a quote from one of our real inspirations, Buckminster Fuller. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a model that makes the existing model obsolete. Thank you very much.